Do you think an open society, dialogue and communication would actually benefit?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, dialogue, allows the spread of ideas. The idea that if one's goal and the idea is dealing within a form of democracy, democracy breeds, and feeds off of different viewpoints and different perspectives. Creativity breeds off that. Any kind of effective decision making, breeds off multiple viewpoints, finding out what the best course of action is by seeing, different people's perspectives, things of that nature. It creates a form of respect between everyone by listening to everyone's points of view and digesting them, understanding them. Allows everyone to understand each other, and therefore we can know how our actions affect other people. And it just creates a certain, community atmosphere that is much more productive, as we saw with Cordoba and, in Spain.
Do you think religion has something to do with that, or perceptions of our faiths?
I would say it's perceptions. I would say it's, as you're saying, people who are not educated. They might be a smart person, but they haven't studied the texts. They haven't taken the time to just get to know people of other faiths. And so when I hear on the cable news channel, the Islamic terrorists, or when I hear the president say that or whatever, that changes my own perceptions. And I think we were talking about it earlier that, it's not necessarily, we wouldn't say the Catholic terrorists in, Northern Ireland or whatever, we would call them the Irish Republican Army. So it's all in the perceptions and the way that things are communicated. And I just see it as very, unfortunate, the perceptions as they are right now.
You have to be able to ask questions. You have to have the humility and the strength to ask how someone else views a certain issue, to be able to even conceive of looking at an issue from another perspective. And, the beauty of what I found in my own religion, in Judaism, is that I'm able to continually interpret the texts and the values in my own life as I continue to grow and as I continue to see the world. And I think that that's important, that we need to be able to, yes, look back to the text.
Every life age or something, we should go through a renaissance of our own. Whatever the fight is between the people who believe in the ideology of Osama bin Laden and the West, it is politically motivated. Because we have an example of the Muslims, millions of Muslims living in India. Why haven't we seen any terrorism acts committed by them? What would you say on that?
Because in India, they aren't, when it comes down to perceptions, again, in India, they aren't perceived as this large threat. In India, they aren't this enemy that lives thousands of miles away. They're your neighbor. And I think that's an entirely different change in things. They're the person next door, and because of that, there's a more human face. You get to know the person. You're not just looking at it as a religion which you know nothing about and judging it. You're taking that person for what they are. You're learning about that person, and you're interacting with that person. And I think that makes a huge difference. And I think instead of taking things black and white in this country, we need to start meeting people of different faiths and start interacting with them, and that'll change your viewpoint completely. I know for me, coming to college, I've been the sort of person that I think because of my rich culture, I'm very open to embracing people of different faiths, but I also came into contact with a lot more people than I ever had in high school. And because of that, I saw different people of different faiths, and I'd go out with the Jews and I'd say, I don't understand this, explain this to me. And I'd hang out with them and interact with them as people. Like I'd go to Muslim dinners and I'd interact with them as people. And along the way, I learned a little bit of information about each, and I learned more and more about each. And I think because of that, I'm interacting with a person on a person-to-person basis, on a human basis. And I think that's an entirely different shift and an entirely different approach which we need to move towards.
That's a very good point here, Stephanie. One of the questions that we had in mind were effects of reality, the facts, and the differences. In easy words, accepting the facts of our own religions.
Well, you might all need to correct me if I'm wrong, but because the Jewish texts were written before the Islamic and the Christian texts, there was not necessarily mention of the other religions of the book. You know, just to take a modern day example, I think rabbis and scholars can now talk very much about the issue of living in sync with other people of other religious faiths, and I know that even within Judaism there are different denominations. Tikkun is a Hebrew word, means to sort of spread healing to others, and I think that would be a philosophy that could very much be applied in this day. I was just talking about different denominations of Judaism. You have Orthodox, Hasidic Judaism, and Conservative, and Reform, and Reconstructionist, and there are probably others that I don't know of. And then you have Jews, I'm sure, who go to Unitarian churches as well and choose to create their own path.
What do they mean by Zionists? What is that? We hear that coming from Osama bin Laden and all those extremists. Who are they?
This is where it is important to go back to where the words came from and who spoke the words initially. And in the founding of Israel, the founders were originally secular Jews who believed in having a homeland for their people where they could feel safe and secure, and they were called Zionists.